All right, now before we get into this week's episode of the Sports Bros podcast, first off, me, Eddy Kool, the HOC, I wanted to apologize due to my poor audio quality. My co-host did point out that, hey, I sounded a little different. I sounded like I was 9 feet away from the mic, but I was close to the mic. But hopefully, it doesn't take away from the podcast altogether. I'll be working to fix that situation so this does not happen again in the future. As far as Be Live and Scottie D goes, they sound perfect like they usually do. I love when my co-hosts sound great. I want to sound great too, but as you know, things happen. Never claim to be professionals, but every week we learn and make it better than what it was before. So sit back, relax, and enjoy episode number 78, entitled The Bad Man, The Style Bender, and the epic collapse of the Atlanta Falcons Part 3. Atlanta gonna hate us. Enjoy. Welcome to another episode of the Sports Bros podcast, featuring the Almighty Be Live, the Money Man Scottie D, and your host, the head of creative, Eddy Kool. And without any further ado, let's give it up for the Sports Bros. Hey, what's going on, world? This be your boy, Eddy Kool, a.k.a. the HOC. And guess what? It is episode 78 of your favorite sports podcast, none other than the Sports Bros podcast. But before I go any further, I just want to let you know that we got an action-packed weekend in sports. Some of everything was going on in the world of sports. But before I go any further, I got to introduce you two of the dopest co-hosts on the planet, the Almighty Be Live.
What's happening? What's going on in the world today? Man, there's so much that we could talk about. Cowboys lost. The football team is tied for the best record in the NFC East. I'm going to go ahead and get that out of the way. College football, the reigning, defending national champions do something that hasn't been done since 1998 and lose their first game. But you know what? Dial it back. I'm already hating the first thing I come out with. My bad. Let's just go ahead and introduce the other guy, and we'll go from there. My bad. I digress.
Oh, wow. Early digressions. And the other guy, the pride of Washington, Pennsylvania, and the fan of the team that owns the number one draft pick in this upcoming Major League Baseball draft, none other than the money man, Scottie D.
Before we get into sports, guys, I just want to say a special thank you to McDonald's. You know, I know that we're starting to pick up a little steam here, get more and more listeners. I didn't expect McDonald's to name a burger after me this early in the process. The Scott Burger on sale now. You can get that anywhere at any McDonald's. So I'm very honored about the Scott Burger, and I'm very excited to talk a little sports with you, my bros. Let's get into it.
Well, before the Scott Burger, what is that? Just two buns with nothing in between?
Wow.
Oh, you know what? My bad. You know what? Burger King actually, if I'm not mistaken, Burger King beat McDonald's to the punch. They named the burger after you as well. It's called the Impossible Burger. So, my bad. See, we're off track again. Eddy Kool, Amtrak this thing.
You just told a Whopper is what happened. You just told a Whopper.
This is great, man. We got some fire-ass hamburgers, though. Not even 3 minutes into the damn podcast. So Scott Burger, a Whopper, and Totally Impossible. Ladies and gentlemen, whatever you're doing, I hope you get ready because it's going to be a good one. All right, guys, guess what? We got week 3 of the NFL. We're going to talk about that right off the top. Of course, we had a lot of great marquee games this week, a lot of great games. As you know, this show is recorded on Monday for Tuesday, and the big game is going to be the Ravens and the Kansas City Chiefs. Yep, battle of supremacy in the AFC, the American Football Conference. Fellas, this past weekend, we had some pretty doggone good games, if I do say so myself. But one of the better games was the Sunday night game between the Saints and the Packers, coming to you live from the 504. Fellas, what do you think about that game?
I'm gonna say this, and I'm hopefully this is not copyright infringement, but I think it should be said. Aaron Rodgers is a bad man.
Yep.
Woo! I'm just, man. It just shows, like, seeing Aaron Rodgers do what he's doing this year. He's definitely got a chip on his shoulder. He said, "Y'all gonna draft another quarterback? Okay, all right, cool. Watch this. You gonna do this to me? To me?" He said, "I." But man, that could be a preview of the playoff run, because I think that the Saints will topple Tampa Bay and win a division. Green Bay right now is the clear. You know what? I apologize. I just said Green Bay is the clear front runner in their division. But alas, they're tied in their division lead with an who in the world would have put Chicago Bears at 3-0 right now?
Not me.
So I would say, but Green Bay is a clear-cut favorite. I'm not the Chicago Bears. They are fraudulent right now. But I won't put it past Nick Foles. But I'll talk about that later. This game was amazing. Aaron Rodgers. I'm still doubting the fact though that can Drew Brees get the ball downfield?
Good question.
I'm not seeing it. And with that right there, if I'm opposing defense coordinator, that's looking like 8-9 in the box, and I'm cutting off those little quick slants that he always throws.
Well, here's the thing, though. You know, it was really called into question a lot this past week about his arm strength and be able to get the ball down the field. But he's missing his big security blanket. I mean, we talked about it on the show last week in our Choices of the Voice question. Michael Thomas caught 149 balls from him last year, and he's been out of the equation. And without the lengthy offseason and the preseason games, he hadn't really established much chemistry with Emmanuel Sanders yet. However, if you look at the biggest turning point of the game on Sunday night, that game was tied 27 each, if I'm not mistaken, early in the fourth quarter. And the Saints fumbled the ball, turned it over, gave it to Green Bay. Maybe they were down a field goal at that point. Anyway, the game was pretty much, on the table at that point. And when that play happened, Drew Brees wasn't in the game. And, I think that's kind of one of those things I've seen Sean Payton do through the years, is get a little cute for his own good sometimes. You take Drew Brees off the playing field, and you bring in Tristan Hill. Is that the guy's name? Taysom Hill. I'm sorry, Taysom Hill, and he fumbles the ball, and Drew Brees is still your best player. He still is. Maybe he lost a little bit of arm strength, but he's still pretty damn good. And I didn't like seeing him come out of the game. I know they do that from time to time, or they'll split him out from time to time. I just think your best player has to have the ball in his hands pretty much on every play. I didn't like that. And Aaron Rodgers, like you said, he's playing with a chip on his shoulder. I think hearing Russell Wilson MVP talk and seeing him draft a backup quarterback, all that stuff, man, this dude's on a mission right now, and it's showing early because he wasn't to be denied Sunday, and that was, a road game. And to his credit, he said, to Chris Collinsworth's point, he didn't have the loud dome noise to compete with. Couple plays, he uses that hard cadence and draws guys offsides. Man, that's a weapon. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is a smart player in addition to just being skilled. So right now, he's playing as good as any quarterback, just about as good as any quarterback in the league right now. But it was cool to see the two legends go at it on Sunday night. And at this point, I think the better team and better quarterback won that game.
Yeah. Also, the Packers won without Devontae Adams, who had a hamstring issue.
True.
Yeah. All right. So both number one receivers out. So,
but what about by Kamara? Was that not an unbelievable? Did you see that play? The sideline screen, and he just went down the sideline. I think it was his guard was out the front, down the field, blocking for him all the way. I think he's getting tackled, and I think he's going out of bounds. None of that happens, and he scored. He's in the end zone doing snow angels. Unbelievable play.
Oh yeah, Kamara is that dude, and it's one of those things. Looking at both teams, they're both built very similarly. Like outside of Devontae Adams, I mean, Alan Lazard, he's growing as a number 2 receiver. And was it Valdez Scantling for Green Bay?
Yep.
And then for New Orleans, and also you got Aaron Jones in the backfield. I think the two teams complement each other, and it just really, I think it really came down to quarterback play. It really came down to quarterback play, and at this point in time, Aaron Rodgers is the better quarterback than Drew Brees, and nothing to take away from Drew Brees, but it just showed in the concept of the game. So, but it's still a long season, still a very long season. It's a strong possibility that the Bears end up being 3-13 because I believe in that. All right, but we'll see. We shall see.
Yeah, it was a very action-packed game, man. Kamara is just, of course, with him coming into the regular season, there was a little contract issue, but they kind of, resolved that. He said, "I'm just going out here and just play some football." And is it me or just does Alvin Kamara make it look effortless?
Oh yeah, I agree with you 100% with that, man. He is a magician on the field. As much as I have a disdain for the Aints because they're a division rival, just the NFC South has the 2 most dynamic running backs in the NFL, and I hate to see that Christian McCaffrey's hurt. But if there was a 1A when it comes to running backs in the NFL, it would be Alvin Kamara.
I think he's the best in the league right now, and a lot of it has to do with what he's doing off the field. I mean, did you see some of the highlights of this workout this guy's doing? I've seen in the past some of his off-season stuff is working on his balance, working with a strength trainer, his diet. I mean, this guy is all in committed to being the best, and it's paying off. I mean, he really is a special player right now.
Yeah, he really is a special player. Hey, guess what, fellas? The Browns won. Let's see. The Patriots, they also won too. The 49ers, they also won. They beat the Giants. The Texans, they continue to slide as they lose to the Steelers. The Bills, Josh Allen and the Bills, the other guy that might be in the MVP
absolutely.
Josh Allen. I don't know what the hell happened to him, but I guess that switch went on. It's like, okay, now I'm gonna play some football. They finally got him some worth of damn receivers. The Titans, they beat the Vikings 31-30. The Vikings, they just don't look. I don't know what the hell to say about them. And guess what, fellas? We got our first tie between the Bengals and the Eagles. No one wanted it. So what happened on the final play, Scottie D?
It looked to me like the Eagles were setting up for a bomb field goal. I can't remember if it was 59, 60, 61 yards, something to that effect, 62 yards.
I think it was either 58 or 59. I know it's in the 50s before. But yeah, it was either 58 or 59. I'm sure of that.
And then they false started, and Peterson was unwilling to take a crack at a 64-yard field goal, I think it was. He passed on the 64-yarder in favor of a punt with 16 seconds remaining. And I think it was 4th and 12. I mean, even if you let the offense try to run a play, you're going to give the ball back with maybe 10 seconds. And then, play defense for once there. I don't know. It just seemed like you got to take a crack. I think he said he regretted not taking that crack at it too, but kiss your sister, man. There was a tie. That's always awkward when you look at the standings. You see a third column, a 1 on it for an NFL team. When the Browns 2 years ago, didn't they have 2 ties right off the bat in the first month of the season, something like that?
No, they had 1. They went 0-1-1. Yeah, they lost 1 and then they tied 1.
2 ties. But yeah, the tie is always an awkward thing, but. I don't know. I think you got to try for the win there, don't you?
I mean, one of my favorite lines. I'm saying, you play to win the game. I don't know this. It's one of those things. I'm gonna make this mention real quick. The Eagles are not who we thought they were. They are a shell of their former selves. Injuries are definitely piling up, and just Carson Wentz is definitely not who we thought he was. I mean, and just it's a mess. But I want to say this: the Eagles are not as big of a mess than the Giants are right now.
Oh,
The Giants are in a conundrum. Let me put it to you this way: if you have not been paying attention, the Giants lost to the 49ers second string quarterback, second string running back, second string wide receiver, second string tight end, second string almost everything. And the 49ers made it. Nick Mullins was looking like an MVP candidate going against the Giants. Not taking away from Nick Mullins, but come on, bro. Come on, really.
And how many points did the Giants put on the board?
Not enough.
9? Was it 9?
Yeah.
And who on the plate for the Giants this year? Coordinator for the Giants.
Ooh, jug.
Jab.
But in his defense, whose actual fault is it at this point in time for the Cowboys' lackluster performance?
All right, we getting into the Cowboys now?
That's where we're going. You might as well. I told you, because I mean, okay. I'm gonna say this in Scottie's defense when it comes to his Cowboys. This was Seattle. This was Russell Wilson. This dude, it let him cook, and I mean, at this point in time, there is not a spot on the field that this dude cannot drop the ball in the basket anywhere. They should have scored more, but Metcalf got a little lazy with one of the catches.
Almost.
So it should have been more. It shouldn't have been close. And I still stand to the fact that the Cowboys should be 0-3. But there is a team that allowed them. We talked about it last week, and I promise you, we're gonna get back to it this week. I'm gonna let it marinate. I'm gonna let it just sit.
All right, let me.
Go ahead. Say what you got to say.
Let me tell you real quick where I'm at with the Cowboys at this point. It's a two. You did say pretty strong. You made a pretty strong case for Seattle being that good and Russell Wilson being that good. Yet it's a 2-minute warning. The Cowboys had the lead. So considering all the turnovers yesterday, all the injuries, and injuries aren't really an excuse because every team in the league is battling injuries. But in the first 3 games this year, the Cowboys won a miracle game in which they were down 20-0 at the end of the first quarter with 3 turnovers in the first quarter. On the opening Sunday night game, they were a very questionable Michael Gallup penalty away from tying that game with a chance to win. And they had the lead as a 2-minute warning, and they were 1 stop away, a 4th and 3 that they did not get that would have won them the game. So in all 3 of those games, they had a chance to win the game. They put a lot of points on the board. The offense is actually scoring a lot of points. All 3 of those games were against quarterbacks and coaches who have been to the Super Bowl. The Cowboys are playing with a coach that they did not have in the offseason. So, having said that, they're 1-2. And Bill Parcells always says, you are what your record says you are. I still think the Cowboys have shown some flashes here of getting going here into the season. Yesterday was the first day out of the first 3 games they put some pressure on the quarterback. They sacked Russell Wilson a handful of times yesterday. They gave him a little trouble. They still are having secondary problems. That's something that they need to fix. And a lot of that is positioning, being, reading what's going on. And I'm hoping that gets fixed, guys, because as you look at the offense yesterday, the Cowboys made a complete offensive line change during the game that actually worked. They took their starting guard, moved them to tackle, the starting center, moved them to guard, and put in a rookie center. And Dak had time to throw the ball for the better part of the day. This week coming up, they're going to get Lyle Collins and Tyron Smith both back on the offensive line. Hopefully they can start running Zeke a little bit more again. So I'm a little optimistic with the offense. Defense needs some help, but I still think the Cowboys are going to be capable of winning 10 games this year. Off to a 1-2 start, I still think they can win 10 games and win that division.
You know what?
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I'll tell you this. I'm over looking at Dak's numbers, man, and as crazy. This might sound crazy, but I'm kind of impressed with Dak's, 2 performances because he's thrown for over 800 yards in both, in both combined games. Like Dak is another guy. He's playing some pretty decent football, but like you said, Scottie D, he'll get his help from his own line back, and we'll see what Dak do. Dak is another one playing like a man possessed. He's in a contract year,
But he has to take care of the football better. He's turned it over too many times in the last 2 games for my liking, to be honest with
you. Yeah. He's like once he gets his lineman back and take care of the football, man, we might be talking about Dak Prescott for MVP. Hell,
no, you're doing way too much at this point.
I'm doing too much. Hey,
Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, and Lamar Jackson at this point.
Yeah. And Josh Allen.
Fellas, look, it's
and
2020.
Josh Allen.
And Josh Allen. Fellas, it's 2020. You know what they say about 2020? Don't be surprised.
You're right about
anything. That. Speaking of not being surprised, the Carolina Panthers, get the first win of the season as they go out west and take one from the LA Chargers in a nice, beautiful stadium. And they did that with Justin Herbert at quarterback. We're going to talk about this Tyrod Taylor situation later. The Colts, they thumped the Jets. Tom Brady gets another one, and the Broncos are 0-3. Matt Patricia gets his 10th career coaching win as they beat the Cardinals. And what do we learn from week 3?
I was surprised with that game. I thought the Cardinals were starting to round into shape, and I really didn't think Detroit was winning that game. That one was a surprise to me, as much as any other of the day, really.
Yeah, they got Kenny Galladay back. He came back for the first time of the season, so he wound up grabbing a touchdown, and maybe that's the added dynamic, back to the Lions' offenses. They will throw that football. Like I said, I told somebody last year, I said, you know what? I was watching the Thanksgiving Day game. I said, man, no one really talks about Marvin Jones Jr. and Kenny Galladay up in Detroit, man. That's a formidable combination, man.
That's why I picked the Lions to win the division. I know I'm dead wrong at this point in time, but that was why. What I learned after week 3 is that there's 3 reasons why the Dallas Cowboys will make the playoffs. 3 reasons. I'm going to give you these 3 reasons real quick, and I'm breaking it down for you. The Giants, the Eagles, and the football team.
I knew it.
They're going to win 10 games just because that's their division. God.
Yeah.
I've talked a lot of trash over the years about the NFC East. I call them the NFC least. But this takes the cake this year. Man. And the thing about it is clear cut that Dallas is better than the other 3 teams by far. There's really no comparison. But it's just the fact that, as Scott alluded to, they did play a couple of tough opponents. And the Atlanta Falcons, they're real tough. They did it again. How? Let me be live. Bring it back. We just save it for Pepper. Save it for Pepper. Eddy Kool, you Amtrak it. Let's keep it moving. We got so much more stuff to talk about. All right, cool.
Real quick.
One
quick point of something that I think I may have learned this past week, and that I think that Buffalo is legit, because I really thought that they were going to have their hands full with the Rams. They got out to a big lead. Evidently, they put it on Costa and won that game. I think that's a big win for Buffalo. They're 3-0. I think first time in forever they've been 3-0, but I legit AFC threat. I don't foresee them in January being able to beat Baltimore or Kansas City, but I think they're a threat to New England this year. I picked them to win that division, and New England, as good as they've looked so far, I still think Buffalo is going to be right there with them.
Scottie G, just want to throw a little caveat out there. Buffalo went 3-0 last year.
Okay, first time. I didn't buy them as legit contenders last year, though, and this year I do.
Oh, so everything changed just because you decided to change your mind.
I just thought the man asked what we thought we learned. That's what I think I learned right there.
Jesus, and just a couple weeks ago, he talking about he educating people, but this is what he learned.
I said again.
Oh yeah. And by the way, the Thursday night game, as B-Live said, no one cared about. The Dolphins did beat the Jaguars 31-13. So just the beard beats the mustache 31-13. For those of you in Florida that give a damn. Who was at the game? I think Chris Jericho and Jim Ross, they were at the game too in the owner's seat, the skybox. Yeah, had a lot of AEW contingent on hand as well too.
Let's roll on. Talk. Let's move on.
And we roll along. Guess what we got going on? We got the NBA Finals set in stone over in the National Basketball Association. Coming out the East will be the Miami Heat, not the Heats. Heats is not heated, ain't plural. Don't say Heats. People make me itch when they say that. This is the Miami Heat versus the Los Angeles Lakers of the Western Conference. Scottie D, who you got? We don't know who you got. We don't know what games.
I picked the Lakers over the Bucks. That was my preseason pick. I thought the Lakers' biggest stumbling block would be the Clippers, and they didn't even end up having to play the Clippers. And actually, you were telling us before we started recording, I guess Doc Rivers is out in Clipperland. Anyway, it was breaking news to us before we came on this show here. But I think for the Lakers to win this thing, it's pretty basic. You just got to keep going to the hoop. They've looked their best when they have decided to not settle for threes, get to the rim. You got big guys, you got length, you got LeBron James, who's probably the greatest player ever at going to the hoop and finishing. He's hard to stop when he's playing downhill like that. If the Lakers lose this, it's because they don't match the energy of the Heat, because that's a team that's just coming out nonstop. Jimmy Butler is now solidifying himself as a big-time star, I think. He found his niche in Miami. I think the Lakers beat them in 6. That's what I'm going to say.
Lakers in 6. Be loud. What you got?
Let's talk about it. Man, oh man. I hinted toward after the bubble that Miami had a shot. But I just didn't see it. I thought that Giannis that they were going to pull it together. Chris Middleton would do his thing, but it didn't happen. Miami is gelling. And I'm going to tell you why this is the biggest threat to the Lakers that they have seen so far. Miami's zone play. Miami's going to keep the ball out of the paint. The Lakers' strength is the paint. Miami plays the zone more and better than anybody else in the league. The Lakers are going to have to shoot the ball and shoot the ball well. Of course, in any game, you're going to be able to pound it in there, but it's not going to come as frequently as they're used to. Miami's going to disrupt the Lakers' flow. Miami is going to win this in 6 games because I'm watching these role players play like I've never seen people play before. Jimmy Buckets is going to be Jimmy Buckets. Bam Adebayo is freaking crash. I mean, he is doing nasty things in the paint. It's going to be interesting watching the 2 guys from Kentucky play against each other, AD and Bam. That's going to be the matchup. I think that matchup determines the outcome of this series. And man, but I'm just watching. Do you ever know that you're my hero? Tyler, that dude is playing out of control. And then you got the one man that everybody seems to forget about when he played with the Warriors with Steph and Clay and Katie. Everybody forgot about Andre Iguodala. I promise you they ain't forget about him now, watching them drop 5 from long distance, doing his thing, and he's back in the finals again. So, I mean, they forget these role players and what they're capable of, man. So, I mean, Miami, their energy, their defensive play, I honestly think that Miami's going to win it in 6.
Well, that wouldn't surprise me a ton, but it would surprise me. And part of that is due to the fact that this was at one point home for LeBron James. And if you remember when he decided I'm going home to Cleveland, there's a little dig at him on the way out the door. Pat Riley didn't exactly send him flowers and buy his plane ticket to Cleveland. He took a little shot at him. They said they haven't really gotten along since then until 2016 when LeBron won a championship with Cleveland. That Riley reached out to him, sent him a text, and LeBron didn't answer him. So he still got that chip on his shoulder because of Pat Riley took a little dig at him. He said a few things that LeBron didn't sit well with LeBron. So LeBron's got that little added extra that he probably isn't going to vocalize, but it's in there with him. So not like LeBron needs any more motivation. I mean, he wants to win a championship in that uniform on this status of years losing Kobe. So LeBron's plenty motivated. I just think Bam Adebayo is going to have to run into Dwight Howard a little bit too, and Dwight Howard played really well in his role with the Lakers this year. He's going to get in and mix it up with him, tough on him, so AD doesn't have to guard him that much. Yeah, you might be right about the zone. That could bother the Lakers some and force them to make some shots. The Lakers are showing they're not consistent to doing that. They're going to have to find somebody that's going to step up. It's nice to have an experienced Rondo in the mix at this point in time, and Kyle Kuzma's another guy. He's got to get it going if they're going to beat these guys. He's got to wake up. So it's going to be very interesting. Again, no home court advantage. That's the coolest thing about this bubble is the level playing field in the neutral site.
Yep, that way you get to see what teams are really made of. Me, Eddy Kool, the HOC, Lakers in 6. That's all I got to say, Lakers in 6. But reason being because Miami, they going to make the Lakers work for every single win that they get. And speaking of working for every single win that they get, moving right along to the NHL Stanley Cup Finals. Guess what, fellas? The Tampa Bay Lightning, they lead the series 3-2 over the Dallas Stars. And I think we have, a game tonight as well, too. And the next time you hear us again, there might be a new Stanley Cup champions. I will be honest with you, I want Tampa Bay to do it because I want it to come full circle from the embarrassment they suffered last year to raising Lord Stanley's Cup once again for the second time in franchise
I'm rooting for the
history.
Penguins.
Wow. Wow.
Okay.
I'm agree with Eddy Kool, even though I just don't have an affinity for Tampa Bay, but yeah, going from winning the President's Cup last year and getting swept, I mean, bounce just in ridiculous fashion last year to being able to return and make it to Lord Stanley's final and one win away. I think Tampa Bay closes out tonight.
Yep, Tampa Bay closes out tonight. And moving right along, speaking of playoffs, guess what? Baseball. That's right, baseball. The season wrapped up, and it is towards that time of the year in September. Guess what? We got playoffs playoffs, the whole entire playoffs in baseball. All right, fellas, so over in the American League, we got the Tampa Bay Rays, the number 1 seed in the American League, going against the number 8 seed, the Toronto Blue Jays. In the 4 and 5 matchup, we got Scottie D's Yankees versus the Cleveland Indians. The 3-6 matchup, we got the Minnesota Twins versus the Astros. In the 2-7 matchup, we got the sneaky Chicago White Sox and the Oakland Athletics. And over in the National League, the number 1 seed, we got the LA Dodgers versus the number 8, the Milwaukee Brewers. Jeff Schill. Shout out to Jeff Schill. Hey, man, don't pass out when we say your name on the podcast. I know you like to run. I know you like the job. But, Jeff, please, I don't want to hear nothing about Milwaukee man found in a ditch after his name got mentioned on a podcast. But he's alive. So we got your Brewers going against the Dodgers. Then we got the San Diego Padres and the Cardinals in the 4-5 matchup. Then we got the Cubs and the Marlins. What? We got the Marlins in the playoffs for the first time. Yeah, for the first time in the 3-6 matchup. And then we got Beeline's Braves against the Cincinnati Reds in the 2-7 matchup. We got playoffs, fellas. Playoffs.
This is going to be crazy. This is going to be really crazy. This is almost like March Madness style baseball playoffs. I've always felt like in the baseball, well, pretty much in any sport, that the longer you go in the series, the more you find out who the better team is. I think you have a better chance in a best of 7 of finding out the better team. You might get shocked in a short 5-game series, but this is best of 3 all in one stadium. So in other words, the Cleveland as the 4 seed will host the Yankees, and they're sending out Shane Bieber, who was like untouchable this year in Game 1, to go against Garrett Cole. If they win that game, they get by the Yankees ace. They got 2 more cracks of winning a home game to advance. This is really, really something, very unique, very different. If you're a 5 seed or lower, you've already played your last home game. There's no going home this year. You're on the road for the rest of the way. And I don't know if you guys realize this. Do you guys see how it's structured after the first round? The how they set up this bubble for the second round?
Is it what was it one?
The American League teams will go to California, and they will play in either Dodgers home stadium or the Padres home stadium, and the National League teams will go and play in the Rangers home park or the Astros home park, and then the World Series will be played in, I believe, the Rangers home park. So this is altogether something we've never seen before. The way this is all structured, this is set up. So it's going to be like March Madness. There's going to be baseball on all day, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. This is going to be pretty cool, if you ask me, to see this format. And there's no breaks. If you want a day off, you have to win your series and get it over early to get a day off, because we're rolling right on through. So this is going to be interesting. And I actually think Cleveland has as good a chance as anybody. We did our pre-shortened season picks, and I picked the glamour matchup of Yankees and Dodgers. Cleveland has got really good pitching, and Francisco Lindor, man, he's a big time player. He's might be his last hurrah in Cleveland, because they're not going to be able to pay that guy after this year probably. But that's you get hot pitching in 2 games and you move on. You don't have a chance to go down 2-0 and make a comeback in this one.
You really don't.
I am genuinely excited. I think baseball. We were a little sketchy about it at the beginning because of all of the postponed games and movement, stuff like that, with this whole COVID situation going on. But I think right now, this is going to be quite the playoff run. And right now, I'm loving where my Braves sit at. At the end of the day, right now, I would love to see some Clayton Kershaw in October choking again. I'm sorry, I said that. Because I'm just telling you, just be honest with you. The Dodgers is literally the Los Angeles Dodgers up top, and then everybody else down. They look by far and beyond the better team than anybody else in baseball right now. I'm just being honest. I love my Braves. I think we have the pitching rotation to make it through and make a long push? Not too sure. We have 2 aces. I mean, Max Fried he hasn't lost. The dude is amazing. He had a little bit of injury bug, but they said he is ready to go for the playoffs. So again, it's a rotation. He can only pitch 1 time, and then the next series he pitches 1, maybe twice. But yeah, Atlanta's bats are hot. That's the one thing I'm loving. They are the best hitting team in baseball right now. But it's the pitching. It's the pitching. That's where LA is just balanced on both sides. I the analyst in me picks the Dodgers to win it all. The heartstrings are going for my Braves. I want it to come out in National League because it's so I think it's been a minute. But
hey, they can, man. Like I said, the way this format is, it's almost like March Madness. How many times during in a March Madness situation where you've seen a 15, 14 seed, one of these low seeds beat a big powerhouse team, and if they play again, it would go the other way. Well, that doesn't matter. You only get 1 crack. Well, in this shortened series like this, like I said, there's not a lot of room for error. If you get hot, your pitcher does the job, man. You're only 1 game away from moving on. That's what makes this so crazy. You win 1 game, and you're a game away from moving on to the semifinals. It's nuts.
Hey, Milwaukee, just to let you know, first on the playoffs, He's a bum.
Oh man, I'm excited for it, man. Let's get it going. Bum. Let's do this baseball thing.
And guess what? That starts today, if I'm not mistaken, because today will be Tuesday, right? With this podcast, Yep. So baseball, yes, the sprint to the World Series. Moving right along, we got UFC 253, headlined by Adesanya and Paulo Costa. And in the second round, the Style Bender picks up the dub. Yep. Fellas, I saw the highlights of the fight, which wasn't that long, but so Adesanya was waiting for it. Costa looked patient, and then boom.
Yeah, last weekend like when I did my pepper point, I said that I thought the Adesanya was going to win this by staying on the outside, away from Costa, staying away from his power, tiring him out, and dragging him into the late rounds and either beating him there or winning a decision. I thought if Costa was going to win this, he was going to have to catch him and knock him out. Adesanya he went ballistic on this dude. He just picked him apart in the first round, kicked his leg into a meat, like look, come from a meat grinder. He kicked his lead leg.
Yeah.
Which, again, I was not surprised that was a strategy. You know, that's kind of his thing, is to stay on the outside and pick you apart. But then in the second round, he saw an opening, threw a head kick in there. Then he threw a left that it didn't look like it was that powerful, but just caught him on the temple, dropped him, and then he went in for the blood was in the water. He went for the kill. I mean, it was fast and it was precise and it was lethal. I remember a few years ago, Conor McGregor saying that in order to beat somebody, you have to have precision. You have to be smart with your striking. And that's what Adesanya did. I mean, he was just, he didn't let himself get hit. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think Costa landed a punch. I don't think he threw a couple jabs, but
I don't think he touched him.
Adesanya is smarter than a lot of his opponents. And he said afterwards, I knew that this guy wanted me to get in there and fight with him. And I'm not stupid. I'm not going to stand there and let you punch me. And he made him work. And I really did not think he was going to go down the way it went down. I was expecting a really good fight. Instead, what I saw was a guy at the top of his game dominate, and a guy who's, I mean, Adesanya is now really the face of the UFC at this point. You'd have to say this is the guy that star is continuing to rise. I mean, he's that good. He really, really is.
So,
B-Live, what did he say after the fight?
He said,
the Style Bender, your boy, the Style Bender?
I can't say that on the air. He said F John Jones. I was like, oh, he's talking cash. I'm like, oh, he was talking all the good stuff after the fight, man, and rightfully so. This guy, watching, like I said, this guy is one of my favorite people to watch, and exactly what Scottie G talked about, his precision. I mean, you can't sleep on this dude for 1 second, because he will make you pay the second you drop your shoulder or drop your head, and it's so pinpoint precision, and it's like, dude, this is such a sight to see. And like y'all, you both said that the outside of my kneecap right now is still throbbing after watching that fight, because it was just red and just beat and just hurt. And every time he kicked, I'm like, oh God, ooh, that hurt. Oh Lord, why is you still standing there? You stop letting the man kick you in the leg like that.
You know, that front leg kick, that outside leg kick, is a tactic that I'm seeing more and more of in the UFC. I'm seeing that happen a lot. And it's a smart tactic, because say Costa did have, he fought a more defensive fight and they did go into a later round. I mean, he's sapping his strength off, and whenever that leg is compromised, he's not going to be able to throw his full power, coming off that leg the way it's being destroyed like that. Adesanya was relentless on the leg, and Costa didn't do anything to combat it. He didn't check it. He didn't switch stances. I really thought Costa was going to try to do more what they call dirty boxing, where he's going to try to push him up the cage, shove him against the cage, make Adesanya carry his weight a little bit while he, did a little dirty boxing, knees to the body, that kind of thing. I don't really think he tried, but I don't know that he had been able to anyway, because every time he threw something at Adesanya, he was out of there. I mean, that dude right now, like I said, he's at the top of his game. Not only is he precise and strong with his striking, but he's fast. You just can't do much with him.
Did you see the one part the first round where he was like, Romero? And he was like,
Yeah.
Romero. That was kind of funny. That was funny. That was real funny. All right, fellas. So yeah, the style bender gets a W. The Falcons do it again. Tampa Bay might clinch tonight. What else is going on? A lot of things going on in the sports world. A lot of things going on in the sports world. We got the NBA Finals preview. Everything is going on in the world of sports. But guess what, fellas?
What time?
It ain't over yet. Because guess what time it is? It is time for our favorite part of the show. And with that being said, hey, yo, button.
And now, our favorite part of the show, the choices of the voices.
Once again, thank you to the ever so lovely and wonderful Miss Button for introducing our favorite portion of the show. You heard the woman, the choices of the voices. Scottie D, it is about the people. You give them the question, they give us the answers, and then we opine about it here on the Sports Bros Podcast. Episode 78. Can you believe it's been 78 episodes already, Scottie D? 78?
That's a lot. That's crazy.
It is, man. Not too far away from 100, man. Not too far away from 100. And I'm ecstatic about this, Scottie D.
Just getting started.
Yeah, we just getting started. We're just kind of like you go to a car lot and look at a car. Oh, it only has 19,000 miles on it. Now you can go ahead and buy it. That car's barely broken in.
That's right.
Yep. All right, Scottie D. What's the question for this week's choices of the voices?
All right, I was asking our listeners to tell us about one of the most unbelievable, improbable finishes you've ever seen in an NFL or actually college game. And we were talking about the way the Cowboys had come back and won with that crazy onside kick against Atlanta last week as an improbable finish. And obviously we were thinking Cal Stanford in college years and years ago. We mentioned that last week. And again, I didn't limit it to a single play. It's kind of however you thought. A comeback, a Hail Mary, a freak crazy play, whatever. And just basically wild finishes, and we had some wild answers there, Eddy Kool.
Yes, did we had wild finishes and wild answers. We wouldn't have it any other way. If it was mild, we ain't with it. But if it's wild, oh yeah, you can find us there. Uncle Max, he said 1993, the comeback. Frank Reich leads the Buffalo Bills to a 41-38 victory over the Oilers in overtime in the AFC playoffs. It was a wild card game, right, Scott?
I believe it was a wild card game. No, actually, it might have been a divisional game. I think it was
divisional game.
It was championship because Buffalo would go on and have to play at Pittsburgh, I'm pretty sure, the following week, and then they would end up going on to the Super Bowl and play Dallas. That was part of their Super Bowl run. But that game was incredible, especially considering Frank Reich was a backup quarterback. You know, I remember there was at one point the announcer said you can turn the lights out on the stadium on Buffalo's season. I think they were down 35-3. Was that what it was?
Yep, 35-3. Yep,
5-3 against a really good team. I mean, Houston wasn't just like they got lucky and scored a few points. That was a really, really good team. Warren Moon leading that team. That thing was as good as over. And it ended up not being over.
Yeah, Houston, the Texans not the Texans, but the Oilers before the Texans ever came around. Oilers had some real good teams in the early and mid-90s, man. Some really good teams led by Warren Moon, and then he just threw the ball all over the place. And
Frank Reich had a similar story in college.
Yeah, he did.
Big comeback with Maryland against, I think, Miami.
Yep, you're right. It was Miami. It was Miami. Yep, yeah. Frank Reich was he's the captain of the comeback, and he was a former Carolina Panthers quarterback as well too.
Yes, sir.
Yep, and current coach of the Indianapolis Colts. So when it comes to Frank Reich, you know what he's doing. And then Uncle Max went on to say he thought the game was over at halftime. Boy, were we wrong. That's a good one, Uncle Max. A great one, Uncle Max. We really appreciate that one. All right, Will Georgia, he said the Tar Wheels versus the Goodfellas 2007 Week 8 fantasy football. Tar Wheels comeback was epic. Okay, now there's a story behind that, Scottie D. Can you tell us what all this is about? Because it sounds pretty good.
I have to be honest. I have no idea. He He swears that I was beating him in fantasy football, and he came back. He must have had a big Monday. I don't know. I've been playing fantasy football for so many years and had so many situations. I don't specifically remember that. He says I thought he was clowning me. He says it's true. I don't know. Maybe. I know this. The Goodfellas 2020 edition, 2020, first place in our 3-0 here in our little league that we got going on there, Eddy Kool.
Yeah, man, we got a pretty strong league going on. Unless you be like my dumb ass and leave Michael Gallup on the bench and then Darrell Henderson, leave him on the bench. I don't know what I'm thinking. But anyways, it's only 3 weeks into the season and anything can happen. All right, thanks, Will, for that one. Brent Gilbert, he said the Music City Miracle and the Iron Bowl with Auburn returning the field goal attempt. Auburn is going to win the football game.
That was truly a crazy one. I remember that Saturday having a full sports bar at overtime and watching Auburn return that kick.
I believe I was in town for that, too.
Crazy.
Yep, I believe me, Beeline, and my girlfriend, we were already in town for that one, too, if I was mistaken.
Unbelievable finish. That was crazy. And what was the other one he said?
The Music City Miracle.
Oh, yeah. Still controversial as to whether Wycheck threw that ball forward or down the line. I guess it depends on who you're rooting for. I personally didn't have any dog in that fight. To me, it's just a historic play.
Yep, and the world may never know. All right, Brent, yes, that was a great one. The Music City Miracle and the Iron Bowl. I love it. Auburn's going to win the football game. That was a great call. Yep. Jeff Styles said Doug Flutie to Gerard Phelan back in 1984. That big old Boston College Hail Mary.
One Flutie the Heisman.
Yep, that's the play that won him the Heisman. All right, so Trey Dizzle, you gave us a very long and elaborate one, but we're going to break it all the way down. The 2003 Monday Night Football game where the Colts came back versus the Buccaneers. He gave us that one. I remember that. That was a good one.
I remember watching that one too. Peyton Manning just wouldn't be denied in the last couple minutes.
Nope, he would not be denied. Then there was that questionable call on Simeon Rice about the field. Was it the field goal block or something like that?
Yeah. Forgot about that. Yeah, that was crazy.
Yep, and then that idiot kicker Vanderjagt, he does it again.
Yep.
So that was a good one, Trey. That was a great one. Matty Ice Martin Tracy, he said, well, for me, it has to be the Patriots down 28-3 at halftime in the Super Bowl versus the Falcons. He said he's
won't go away, will it?
Well, you know what, man? If you only got 10 toes on your foot. They done shot about 3 of them off. So the Falcons running out of toes, man. Dirty Birds running out of toes. He said I had a heart attack, out-of-body experience during that comeback overtime win, as did a lot of us. I'm still feeling that win today. Wow, just wow. The Falcons are feeling it too. What'd you say, Scott?
Said poor Atlanta.
And only made sweeter knowing how many souls/haters' dreams were crushed after that game. Pete must have been the ball pressure. Oh man, yeah. That you know what? As of last week, the Falcons. Well, actually, as of 2017, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. The Falcons have been the butt of jokes as far as as far as having their foot on the throttle, and then somehow, some way, they just let them up. Like they'll never live it down. And then they did it again last week, and then they did it again this week.
They won't stop doing it.
Oh man, this is the song that does it. It just goes on and on.
Poor Atlanta.
Go Braves. That's all I got to say. Oh, God. The city of Atlanta's going to hate us, but that's okay. Win some games or fire your coach. Hey, get rid of Thomas Dimitrov. Okay, spend some money. Do what you got to do. But I'm going to say about that for Pete. With the Falcons. They 0-3. All right. Whew. Composure, Ed. Derek Reed, he said, hard to beat this game. He said, Vic at his best and D-Jax with the walk-off. So what is the Meadowlands? What was it? Between the Eagles and the Giants. What was it called? The shutdown of the Meadowlands or something like that.
The Miracle at the Meadowlands?
Yes. The Miracle at the Meadowlands. Yeah, I forgot the name. Yeah, I forgot the name of it. But yeah, that's the one. The Giants
that's calling that one.
Yep, they let it slip through the fingers once again. Worst feeling in the world. The best name in the game, Joe Comfort. He said this gym right here between Michigan and little brother Michigan State. 8 seconds left in the game, and the punter fumbles the snap. Harbaugh's disgust can't be hidden. I remember that one.
Yeah,
that was a funny one. That was a real funny one. I think the guy the guy who got the fumble, they hurt his own teammates, jumped on him. He got hurt in the end zone, so he really couldn't celebrate the way he wanted to. Get off of me, y'all big move. I understand you're happy, but come on, man. This so much pressure. So much pressure. Oh yeah, that's right. We got the Big Ten back, right? We got Big Ten football back, and also Scottie, the Pac-12 football is coming back too, right?
Coming back soon.
Well, see, I knew this. I knew something had to give, man. Something had to give. So we go all this kind of sort of well in the world of college football. I think we even got the MAC coming back. Yeah, I guess. But hey man, good for them. Rambus Evans, he said Oklahoma and the Boise State Fiesta Bowl. Man, that was a good one. That was a good one.
Statue of Liberty play.
Yep, Statue of Liberty play. And
hook and ladder. They have a hook and ladder in there somewhere too.
Yeah, hell yeah. Boise State was just pulling out all the tricks in the bag and just had Bob Stoops all over the place. He didn't know what to do. And I'm like, yeah, you can't sleep on Boise State. Not at all. Paul Blust, he said, I am biased. It's East Carolina over North Carolina State Peach Bowl, 1992, January the 1st. Down 35-17 with 7 minutes left. ECU won 38-35. That was a close one. That's like a field goal there. The big boss man, Bruce Diamond, he said Frank Wright, Bills over Oilers. Yep, that's 2 for those.
Yeah.
Rick Bryan, he said 5-star Deshaun Watson throwing the ball. The 2-star Hunter Renfrow with 1 second left on the clock after being down by 14 at one point. 2016 national champs. I know. Never Facebook Homer pick. Hashtag all roads lead to Dabo.
Yeah.
Somebody, yeah. Hashtag all.
B-Live said he concurs on that one. That's his pick too.
Yep, the almighty B-Live picked that one too. So Scottie D, we took a nice and fun and interesting, entertaining trip down memory lane. What say you? What you got?
There's a couple to mention. I'll let you get a little bit into more of the River City Relay here in a minute, but I remember there was a Monday night game in October of 2000 where Miami 7 on the Jets going into the fourth quarter. The Jets had a furious comeback, ended up throwing a pass to Jumbo Elliott, tackle eligible. He bobbled it, caught it in the end zone, and they end up winning in overtime. The Bush push. Remember the Bush push? Southern Cal against Notre Dame.
Yep.
Instead of taking the tying field goal, they went for the win, and half the team pushed Reggie Bush into the end zone. I don't even know if that was a legal play, but I remember it was an exciting game watching that one. There was one that bothered me because, I am a Pittsburgh guy, but I don't root for Pittsburgh in football. But going back to I think it was 2005 divisional playoff game, the Steelers and the Colts. The Steelers had jumped out to a 14-0 lead. I think they led 14-3 at halftime. The Colts staged a furious comeback in the fourth quarter, but it seemed to end when Peyton Manning was sacked on his own 2-yard line, and in comes the bus to take it home. And I don't know if you remember this, B-Live, but the bus got popped and the ball popped up into the air, and the Colts had possession, and it seemed like they were going to run it all the way back. And for some reason, Ben Roethlisberger was like playing safety. He backpedaled, shoestring the defender. Peyton Manning drives. It saved the touchdown that would have taken the lead. Peyton Manning then drives down, and Mike Vanderjagt, the idiot kicker, shanked what would have been the tying field goal, and the Steelers won 21-18. They advanced to the championship, beat the Broncos, went on to the Super Bowl. But that was a crazy finish. I mean, Jerome Bettis is a guy who very seldom fumbled the ball, and when he got hit on that play and the ball popped up in the air, he was getting fitted for goat horns. And Roethlisberger just made that crazy shoestring tackle. I can't remember. It might have been Bob Sanders that had caught the ball and was headed to the opposite end zone. But unbelievable finish. crazy finish. That was a wild, crazy game. That one that the Colts were expected to win because that was in Indianapolis. But that was a crazy one to me. What do you got there, Eddy Kool?
Well, I got several, but one that just popped up in my head was the River City Relay. All right, let's take a trip back to Week 16 of the 2003 season. We got two teams going virtually nowhere. We got the 7-8 Saints versus the Jacksonville Jaguars at 5-10. It was in Jacksonville. So the game went back and forth for a while. Saints, they had a 3-0 lead after John Carney kicked the field goal, and scoring had mostly been dominated by the Jaguars. And then they come running back. The Saints came roaring back. Saints came roaring back. They scored a touchdown, a couple field goals, and a couple more field goals. And then this happened.
7 seconds remaining.
With 7 seconds remaining, the Saints said, "You know what? We're just gonna throw a bunch of laterals." They used 3 laterals to score a touchdown as time expired. They threw about 3 of them, and the guy that scored it was Jerome Payfine. Guess what? It looks like the Saints was going to win the game. Everything was cool, fine, dandy, right? Guess what? John Carney lined up to kick the extra point. A gimme, right? Here you go. Just a real easy extra point. And then guess what he does?
To the right.
Yep. Sailed wide right. Saints play-by-play announcer Jim Henderson had the best reaction in the world. He said, "No, he missed the extra point wide right. Oh my God, how could he do that?"
And that was before the extra point was pushed back. That was chip shot automatic extra point.
Yeah, it was automatic extra point. Wow. And
actually,
then,
if the Saints would have won that game, they would have been 8-7, I think, still in the wild card hunt. If they would have, they could have won that and gone to week. That essentially eliminated them.
Yeah, that was it. So we went to Jacksonville and just gave up one. And one I thought about just off the top of my head, the Miami Miracle in 2018 between the Patriots and the Dolphins. Now, historically for the past, X amount of years, the Patriots haven't fared too well in late season games in Miami. So they threw 11,000 laterals too. And what do you know? The Miami Dolphins, they won that game 34-33. That's another good one. Let's see. What was another one that I liked? I liked several of them.
There was one that obviously I didn't see it live, but it was Division III school. It was a 62-second play. There was a handful of laterals. It was Trinity over Millsaps in Division III. It was one of those kind of locally videotaped things, but the college announcer was going crazy. It's the longest play in college history. That I'm sure you could pull it up on YouTube. But that was another one with it had I think it had 6 laterals or something like that. It was nuts. But it was Trinity College when they ended up winning. And I just remember the young announcer just losing his mind over that when they scored. I mean, nothing beats the band is on the field. That was the craziest whatever.
The band is on the field. I mean, that game is as old as me. So if you want to remember anything about Cal and Stanford, just that one. Oh, Scottie, I forgot one more person. I forgot somebody. Monique Adams. She asked a couple of coworkers, and then she also said the Auburn Alabama kick 6, the Immaculate Reception, the Falcons and Cowboys game, the Music City Miracle, and the Cal Stanford one. The band is on the field. Yes.
And I actually posted another good one on the picture on Facebook, and that was the referee mix up with the replacement games. The Fail Mary threw it up, and the Packers and Seahawks were fighting over it in the end zone. So a lot of good ones. We could probably go on for hours with good finishes, but we had some really nice responses there.
Oh, very much so, man. Very much so, man. That was a action-packed edition of Choices of the Voices. Shout out to Monique, Uncle Max, William, Brent, Jeff, Trey Dizzle, Martin Tracy, Derek Reed, Joe Comfort, Rambus Evans, Paul Bluss, the big boss man Bruce Diamond, and Rick Bryan for their contributions to this week's Choices of the Voices, and the Almighty Be Live too. What's on tap for next week, Scottie D? What we got?
All right, so right now we're in a very unique time in the history of sports. We have the NHL Finals going on. The NBA Finals about to begin. College Major League Baseball postseason about to begin. College and NFL both ongoing. So with all the mix going on, we're going to ask a mixed question, and that is, who is the worst head coach to win a championship in any sport? Pick any of those. A coach that just got lucky, wasn't a very good coach, but somehow managed to get his team to a championship and grab the trophy. So that's what we're going to be talking about next week on Choices of the Voices.
That's going to be a good one. That's really going to get a lot of people thinking like, who won it but had no business in the first place?
Right.
Yeah, that's a lot. And that's it for next week's Choices of the Voices. Scottie D, it's time to get up out of here and head home. But before we go, we got to round the pepper. You know how we do it. 3 topics, rapid fire style, kind of, sort of, not really. Entertaining, enlightening, but fun. All around fun. I know everyone has been enjoying my history lessons, but I'm going to get to some current topics. Are we ready?
Let's do it.
My first pepper point goes out to the Cleveland Browns. Ask me why, Scott.
Why, Eddy Kool?
I'm glad you asked why, because the Cleveland Browns are riding a 2-game win streak, all right? And they are above 500 for the first time in 6 years. So I'm going to have to do this. Here we go, Brownies. Here we go. Row, row. Good things going on in the city of Cleveland. Over to you, Scottie D.
Eddy Kool, I hate to break this to you, but that ends next week because they're going to Dallas.
Oh,
yeah,
that's right. Oh, that is right. They play your Cowboys. They go to Dallas, right?
Going to face the legendary Dallas Cowboys. Speaking of legends, football legend Joe Montana had an interesting situation this past week when a home intruder tried to take his 9-month-old grandchild from his home in Los Angeles. What? You gotta be kidding me. Montana said his 9-month-old grandchild was sleeping in the playpen last Saturday when a woman just rolled into the house, took the child from the playpen and held the baby. Montana said him and his wife, who, by the way, is still hot, confronted the woman to de-escalate the situation and asked her to give the grandchild. I guess he had to tussle with her a little bit and then safely pry the child out of the suspect's arms. And then the suspect fled, but Montana and them, they made sure she got caught. They took her into custody. After getting the child, Montana somehow displayed that calm coolness that he was known for, because that woman's getting a baseball bat on her noggin if that's in my house. After I get that baby safe, that lady, it would have been bad for her. But what an unbelievable situation there, Eddy Kool. Would think you're safe in your own home and some crazy woman just wanders right into the house. So, man, you got to be careful out there, folks. Watch your kids. Never know what's going to go on. But another win for Joe Montana. Be live. Over to you.
You better get the hell out of my house, crazy woman. Go ahead, Be live.
Okay. Well, the ball is in my court, and we have a situation right now because I might have been premature last week when I called for the firing of Dan Quinn. I've been doing a lot of researching and digging. Oh, by the way. Yes, this pepper this week is also about the Atlanta Falcons. We talked about it earlier. Now we're back at where we need to be. But I digress a little bit. Let's save it. All right, here we go. I did a little digging because I wanted to know Dan Quinn's background and what brought him to be where he's at right now. Well, he started his coaching career at William & Mary in 1994 as a defensive line coach. And then VMI 1995 defensive line coach. Hofstra 1996 to 1999 defensive line coach. 2000 at Hofstra defensive coordinator and defensive line coach. And then he made it to the NFL with the San Francisco 49ers as defensive quality control. Then he was promoted in 2003 as a defensive line coach. Miami Dolphins 2005 defensive line coach. New York Jets 2007 defensive line coach. Here's where it gets interesting. Seattle Seahawks 2009-2010 assistant head coach and defensive line coach. Then he went back to the college ranks at Florida 2011 defensive coordinator and defensive line coach. Catching the trend real quick, but I'm going to try this out. 2013, he was hired with the Seattle Seahawks as a defensive coordinator. Put a pin in that real quick because 2013 Seattle Seahawks. Legion of Boom? Dan Quinn. Aha. He has a history of being a defensive coach. He has won a Super Bowl as a defensive coach. And now we continue. From him winning the Super Bowl with the Seattle Seahawks and the Legion of Boom, he is hired with the Atlanta Falcons in 2015 as the head coach. Deservedly so. Won a Super Bowl. Now, hey, everybody wants him. 2015 and 2018, he was the head coach. Something happened between those years. I don't know if anybody is able to pinpoint that, but yes, as the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons in the Super Bowl, Atlanta not only beat his former team, Seattle Seahawks, and then Green Bay, to make it to the Super Bowl against the New England Patriots, and a defensive-minded coach is up 28-3 in the third quarter. Wow, one would think that he's doing his job. Defense is clicking on all cylinders. And then the bottom falls out. And then we witness the worst collapse in not only Super Bowl history, but NFL history. But check this out. After that season, they fire their defensive coordinator, and Dan Quinn takes over the defensive coordinating duties as well as the head coach. And you know what? I'm going to save the rest because I feel like I am rambling at this point in time. I've convinced myself again that Dan Quinn should be fired again. What are you doing? What are you doing? As the head coach of a franchise, you are ultimately the person that's to blame. I tried my best. He's a defensive line coach. He's been that for the majority of his career. And defensive line for the majority part of the Bears game looked like they did their job. He would be safe if he was the defensive lines coach of the Falcons. But alas, oh no, he is not. And one of the main reasons why he is still the head coach of the Falcons is because of somebody else that should be fired. Arthur Blank. You have failed the city of Atlanta. You have failed fans here, there, hitherunto, including friends of mine that I will mention on this podcast because I'm allowed to, because guess what? I'm on a podcast, ladies and gentlemen, and I get to talk trash. Shanari Shea. Your team is trash. Arthur Blank fired as the owner. Dan Quinn fired as your head coach. To my niece, I'm going to call her by her Facebook name. Not sure if she wants to go by her government name. I'm not going to do that to her. I'm going to go Facebook her. Deshaun, niece, love you. Your team is trash. Arthur Blank fired for keeping Dan Quinn after going 1-7 to start a season and finishing the season 7-9. Oh, I have hope. I have belief in him. Fired. Dan Quinn, defensive minded, fired. Can't stop a nosebleed, fired. Brandon Fielder, fired. Your team is trash. Arthur Blank, owner, fired. Dan Quinn, fired. Anybody else? Oh, maybe my own sister, Angel Strickland. Your team is trash. Fired. Arthur Blank, fired. Dan Quinn, fired. How do you do something in back-to-back weeks that no other team in the NFL has done ever? Or at least not over the span of 20, 25 years. Atlanta Falcons. Terrible situation. Get your life together. Fandom of Atlanta Falcons. Fired. Let it go. Terrible team. Terrible. Two of the best wide receivers in the land. Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley. And yet, you lose back-to-back weeks in spectacular fashion after having at least a 16-point lead going into the fourth quarter. Fired, all of you. Eddy Kool, the ball.
B-Live told us what he was going to do, and he did it. This was great. All right. What did you say, Scottie D?
Poor Atlanta.
Poor Atlanta. Root for the Braves. Root for FC United in Atlanta. Do something.
Just do better.
Just do better. Hashtag do better. All right, my second pepper point was a situation that happened last week involving the LA Chargers and Tyrod Taylor. Yeah. Now coming into the season, Tyrod Taylor was named as the starter for week 1 against the Kansas City Chiefs. No, it wasn't Kansas City Chiefs. Anyways, he was going to be named with the week 1 starter. So everything was cool and fine and dandy, and he was named the week 1 starter, and everything was fine. The following week, he was supposed to be the starter for week 2 against the Kansas City Chiefs. And then when we turned on the TV, we noticed that rookie Justin Herbert was starting. A spot start. Like an hour before the game, hey kid, you're starting. And Justin Herbert went on to have a great performance, playing the Kansas City Chiefs very tight, and the Kansas City Chiefs had to pull one out with field goal in the final seconds of the fourth quarter. But back to Tyrod Taylor and why he wasn't in the game. Tyrod Taylor was getting treatments for some bruised ribs that he suffered, and come to find out, it was diagnosed as a chest injury, which later was revealed to be a punctured lung.
Oh, man. Can't make that up.
I'm pretty damn creative, Scottie, but I cannot make this up. First of all, I went on the Los Angeles Chargers website, and I looked up the team for physicians. There's 4 of them. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to put nobody's names out because guess what? The last thing I need is a libel lawsuit. I ain't got no money, so you ain't going to get nothing from me anyway. Scottie D, they need to be fired. They need to be fired because there's no way in the world, me being an athlete and you guys being a world-class, medicine professionals, you're jiggling a needle up in me. Next you know, I got a punctured lung. And I got to miss time off from work. Luckily for them, Justin Herbert, their first round draft pick in this year's draft, he can hold his own because the kid looked pretty good. He's passed for over 600 yards in the past 2 games, making very minimal mistakes. But the medical staff for the Los Angeles Chargers, in the words of Scottie D, hashtag do better. Over to you, Scottie D.
All right. So my misery ended for my Pittsburgh Pirates this past week. They finished the abbreviated season with a 19-41 record. That's right. They didn't get to 20 games. Very lucky they didn't because they got a little hot there. Had a 3-game winning streak towards the end of the season there. And at this point, there's a prospect for Vanderbilt, a big-time pitcher named Kumar Rocker, and we're hoping that that's going to be our draft pick come next June. The Pirates did give us a little glimmer of hope. Pitching staff in the last 10 games got a lot better, and we have a young stud, hopefully a star to making, by the name of Ke'Bryan Hayes. He batted .376 and 85 at bats once he got called up here late in the season. He's the son of former baseball player Charlie Hayes, who you might remember caught the last out of the 96 World Series for the Yankees. He was a really good baseball player. So here's to better things to come. Next year, 2021, Pittsburgh Pirates, do better. Be Live, over to you.
It's your boy, the almighty Be Live, back at you for the second pepper point. You already know what time it is. It's about the Falcons. And all right, let's just start off with this real quick. I'm going through the roster of the Atlanta Falcons, and I'm pinpointing other people that should be called out and once again fired. Number 26, Isaiah Oliver, cornerback. Number 43, Mikael Walker, linebacker. Number 45, Deion Jones, linebacker. Fired. You're in a soft zone. You're watching the eyes of the quarterback. Mind you, this is... Let me see if I can put this together. This is the Chicago Bears and Nick Foles. I don't know about you. I don't know. I'm just an armchair. I won't even call myself an armchair quarterback. I'm an armchair offensive lineman. I got a belly. I can see that your focus should be maintaining your zone, but you allow Nick Foles to scramble and then throw a ball over all 3 of your heads as you run into each other to complete a pass, and the drive continues as you allow yet another huge lead dissipate right in front of your face. So I call you out again. Isaiah Oliver, Mikael Walker, Deion Jones, fired. And you know what? I don't blame just the player. There's so many factors that go into why y'all failed your job. But at the end of the day, your defensive coordinator and your secondary coach failed you mightily. So, when I add other people to this chopping block, it's out of respect of the player. Raheem Morris, defensive coordinator, fired. What play calling have you? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing on the defensive end when the offense has done their job. They've done their job. Built a great lead, and all you have to do is stop the other team from scoring. I won't mention the missed tackles. Actually, I just did, so I mentioned it. But just the soft zone that you allowed for the rest of the game and just allow teams to eat away at a lead that was already built by the offense. Raheem Morris, I, you're not alone. You're not alone in this blame. Joe Witt, the secondary coach for the Atlanta Falcons, fired. I won't divulge in this any longer, just because I have yet one more point to make when it comes to the Atlanta Falcons and how much they have failed and how much I really enjoy how much the Falcons have failed. Eddy Kool, the ball.
3, 2, 1. Oh boy, Atlanta, do better. All right, my third and final pepper point goes out to Miami Heat coach Eric Spoelstra. Let me give you some numbers right fast. All right, he has 83 playoff wins, which is 8th all time. This is his 5th NBA Finals appearance, tied for 6th all time, and he has 2 titles to show for it. People have said that, you know what, when LeBron leaves Miami and D-Wade retires, Miami, they ain't really going to be hitting on nothing. But you know what? Eric Spoelstra has really dug his heels down in this organization, really bided his time, and really put a team together through drafting, through free agency, through smart trades. Hey, man, you got to give him and Pat Riley some credit. They know what they and knowing what the hell will win you a bunch of games and get you to another trip to the NBA Finals. So, guys, gals, let's not sleep on Eric Spoelstra. Over to you, Scottie D.
I'm rooting against him this week. All right, my final pepper point of the week is a farewell of sorts. Last week at age 77, Gale Sayers passed away. Gale Sayers, as you know, is a Pro Football Hall of Famer. He played 7 seasons for the Bears, but he really only played 5. He rushed for less than 5,000 yards, yet he still made it to the Hall of Fame. That's how good he was. His rookie season was one for the books. A game in 1965 against the Vikings, he scored a touchdown rushing, receiving, and on a kickoff return. The next time that happened was 50 years later in 2016 when Tyreek Hill did that for the Chiefs. So it just shows you what a special accomplishment that was. He was the rookie of the year. At the time, he was saying, just give me 18 inches of daylight. That's all I need. Gale Sayers went on to great fame because of how he was depicted in the movie Brian Song about his teammate Brian Piccolo, who died of cancer in 1970. And now joining him is Gale Sayers himself, who passed away at age 77. True legend, true gentleman, and Chicago Bear great. Over to you, B Live.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Give me this opportunity. Let me take this moment real quick. Shout out to my 2 bros for allowing me to be a part of this. The head of creative, and I mean the head of creative, Eddy Kool, and the money man that wants to educate the masses on a weekly basis. I haven't learned anything yet, but he's trying, I guess, to educate the masses on what is right in the world. I thank the both of you for this platform. And let me get this out of the way. My third and final pepper point is this. And I'm going to switch it up real quick. Not only am I calling for a lot of people in the Falcons organization to be fired because of your ineptitude and your inability to do your job. You have now caused someone else in another organization. Let me see if I can emphasize this enough. Your inability to close out games has now is leaked into another organization and caused somebody else in another organization to be fired. Not necessarily fired, but he definitely got demoted. Mitchell Trubisky. He was the starting quarterback for the Chicago Bears. But because the Falcons could not close out a game, you, the Atlanta Falcons, made Nick Foles look like, yet again, a superstar, a rock star, in allowing not one, not two, but 3 touchdowns by Nick Foles for the Bears to come back and be 3-0, in which everybody in the football world knows that the Chicago Bears at 3-0 is a complete farce. But because you don't know how to close a game, you have caused Mitchell Trubisky to be fired. Unbelievable. Trubisky could have been fired on his own, but you definitely helped them by having the Bears believe that Nick Foles is just amazing. 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. Comeback victory of the ages again against the Falcons. This rests solely on your head, Atlanta Falcons, that Mitchell Trubisky will probably not ever have an NFL job again, or if anything, he'll be a journeyman for the rest of his NFL career, which I truly believe will be very short. Atlanta Falcons, thank you from a diehard Carolina Panthers fan. Thank you for being this bad. Thank you on behalf of the Chicago Bears organization for being this bad. Thank you on behalf of all the other organizations that you have possibly made look much better than they actually are, because you are that bad. Atlanta Falcons, you got Mitchell Trubisky fired. Wow. Throw away the entire organization. You're done. I got nothing else. Eddy Kool, finish this off, and I'm out.
Oh boy. Oh man, here we go. Be like, we gotta be easy on these fans. Oh, you know what? Show them no love. The hell with them. Show them no love. All right, fellas. And I believe that's it for Pepper. We all got our points in. Be Live, especially you did emphatically. Scottie D, you got yours correct. Yep, and I got mine in too. Ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up another action-packed edition of the Sports Bros Podcast. Listen, if we haven't told you enough, we're going to tell you again and again. We thank you for the love and support that you've been giving to us over the past year. We appreciate all input. We appreciate everything that you do by telling your friends, by listening to it, whether you're jogging, like my guy Jeff Shield, or you're just listening to it on a regular basis on your way to work, on a cross-country trip, flying from all over the place. We greatly appreciate it, and we thank you very much because, this is fun, but we also put a lot of work into it as well, too. And we just enjoy doing this week in and week out by bringing you a sports podcast where we keep it about sports. We keep politics and everything out of it because, hey, you know what? Sometimes you need an hour and a half getaway, and guess what? We got it for you right here, the Sports Bros Podcast. What you got, Scott D?
Yeah, just to double up on what you're saying, we know that it's been a tough year out there, and we appreciate you taking a little time to spend some time getting away from all that with us because we do really enjoy this. And if you enjoy listening to us, please tell somebody about us. Share this with a friend. Say, hey, these guys are keeping it to sports. They're not going to bother you with the other stuff. It's just all fun. So thanks again for listening to us. We greatly appreciate it, and we'll do it again next week.
Yep, we bust chops, cut up, but all the while we have fun. Scottie D.
Well, this week they can reach me on my couch in my living room because I'm going to be watching baseball all day, all week long. Check me out on Facebook. If you had anything you want to add, recommend to the show, you can meet me on Facebook and throw me out a suggestion or tell me how great I am or tell me how good the Scott burger is from McDonald's.
Oh, boy, the Scott burger. That leaves me, the host of this thing, Eddy Kool, a.k.a. the HOC, the head of creative. You can catch me all over the place on all the aforementioned Sports Bros podcast social media platforms, from the WordPress to the YouTube channel to the Instagram, which is Sports Bros Podcast Instagram, my personal Instagram, Cool Season, all one word, on Snapchat, Super Cool 5000. And hey, y'all, guess what? Eddy Kool got a TikTok account. Yep, you can check me out on TikTok at Eddy Kool. Yep, all one word as well, too. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, I'm there as well, too. I'm everywhere. I'm all over the place. Matter of fact, I hope you guys enjoyed that little preview of the updated NFC South standings. Take a little time out of business, huh? Oh yeah. Take a little time out of busy schedule to make it happen. Anything you want to say, Scott, before we get up out of here and watch some sports, eat chicken, watch wrestling?
Just I want to make sure I don't say this enough to you and Be Live. You're welcome.
I'm going to say thank you. Be Live would usually be talking trash about now, but Scott, I'm going to say thank you because if it wasn't for you that night in 2018 in December where you made this desperate plea to talk about sports and not to your couch, this thing would have never happened. Never happened. Would have never happened. So I thank you, sir. Also, before we get up out of here, I want to send our condolences to the Laurinaitis family. The other half of the Road Warrior Animal, and very, very sad to see one of the all-time greats pass away. And so, what a rush to the Road Warriors up in heaven. Everybody been dropping like flies, Scottie D, man. Dropping like
bad
flies,
year. Let's get through this thing.
Yeah, let's go ahead and get a bad year. With that being said, and in closing, do something nice for yourself. And if you can, do something nice for someone else. They'll greatly appreciate it. Now's the time to be a blessing and not a burden. It's been another episode of the Sports Bros Podcast. And as always, thank you.
Yes, sir.